How's it going, guys? Girls, hope you guys are having a great week. So I'm back today with another video. This is pretty much turning out to be one a day at the moment. I want to try and get these up before Christmas. So this is the third video in our end of year discussion review between myself, Edge, and Dante. In today's video, we talk about some of the biggest gaming disappointments this year in 2020. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. So which games were the biggest disappointments this year or gaming moments? Please share those in the comment section below. Anyway, without further ado, enjoy.
Hello again, guys. This is Edge from Edge Plays. Again, for the third and final part of the video series we're doing at the moment for 2020, we're doing most disappointment games of this year. Now, quick disclaimer, I have not played. It's kind of funny me doing a video on this. I haven't actually played a majority of these games, which people may class as disappointments. Now, in that case, we have N7 and Kate and N7 and Dante who have played them,
Yes.
who will gladly tell me how bad they are or how disappointing they are, for a number of reasons. I do have one or two on my list, which I've played. I'm sure Dante will know which one of those is, because I would not stop going on about it. Like an old angry man. Bitter. Bitter, I tell you. And if I had been able to record the footage of me and him playing this, I think it would have been hilariously funny.
All right. Do you want to talk about yours first then? Because I'm interested. I'm really intrigued what this is because I don't think I've got any of this.
So, the game that we played, which I was disappointed in the most for 2020, was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remaster.
Ah, okay.
Because it was pure shit.
Is it really that bad? Why was it so bad?
So, to clarify, I'm probably being a bit harsh, but I'm not going to give a shit. I'm going to do it anyway. The game, it's kind of nostalgia with rose-tinted glasses, I think, but also to do with how they've managed to fuck it up a little bit. So the game itself is a remaster or a remake of the original Crystal Chronicles on GameCube. Now, it was a multiplayer Final Fantasy game, and you had up to 4 players who... How this worked... you had to have 4 Game Boy Advances with 4 link cables that would plug into your GameCube, and you had to have 4 memory cards that would each transfer a character onto that memory card to be able to play. It was a faff, but once you got it working, you could basically each of you had like a unique option on your screens of your 3D of your Game Boy Advance. So one had a treasure map. One had the map itself, so you knew where you were going. One might have enemy radar, and one might have like inventory or bits and pieces of interest. So it was a really cool sort of. Each one had a unique thing that would help the other out, and it was really good co-op play. Drawback would be is that your batteries would run out on a Game Boy Advance, so you had enough. You then had to plug that in to the mains if you had one of those adapter batteries. And I'm sure Dante knows this, so. Yeah, the amount of cabling.
So how is the new one different then? Because you're really getting off the tangent here, just talking about the old one. So how is the new one really bad?
So the new one is really bad because not only is it a real faff to have to find people to join in with your party, but you have to complete each level multiple times to progress. So for example, if I were to join in on Dante's play file, okay? Originally, if we all did it together, we would all get the same progress. But in this version, if we were all playing together from scratch, we would all have to do the same level 3 times.
Because basically, the host progresses story for their file only, whereas
that's really
everybody,
bad. So
because it's on.
End up feeling really grindy then, because you'd have to just keep replaying the same bits over again.
Yes, although to get everything in each level, you'd probably end up grinding them anyway.
Yeah, but that's no fun. No one likes grinding. I don't care what anyone says. No one enjoys grinding.
Edge likes grinding.
Well,
I hate grinding. I hate grinding in games.
So there's no party chat in terms of because it's cross play. So you've got Switch, PS4 and mobile device. So on your mobile device, like a phone or tablet. Okay? And depending upon how you link up the friend codes to find each other, you've then got to make sure to... It's a bit of a faff, but once you're used to it, I understand why they've done what they've done. But it could have been done so much better. And then, hit it all off, which really pissed me off, was like you would spend all this effort to have to try and go... Because each time you go to a new level, you have to go through a tunnel of death. And you have to have the like elemental chalice to get you through. So you get all this fucking effort of doing all that, traversing through death, to get to the next level, to then select the next level, to then be teleported back into the first level. Because it's a level select.
Okay. Slow that anger.
So
right, okay.
automatically you go
That's
to
fine.
the forest of mushrooms, and I'm back in the
15 minutes
riverside
just spent
country.
talking about Crystal Chronicles.
The rage is
Right,
real.
okay.
Short
I
version,
see you, the rage.
way faffier than it should be.
It
or
needs
could
to be.
They could have come up with some new solutions and this and that. Even the
I
shortcuts
know I'm
they
a
did
whining
do
bitch, but seriously,
are
it's
still
shit.
a long faffy way round. But yeah,
Fair enough. Okay.
It's not good.
No, that's fair. And if they make it difficult, that's not good.
of course,
at all.
you
That's no fun
disconnect
at
as
all.
well.
Oh god, don't get on
Oh
that.
dear God! Don't get him started. Oh my
Next
God.
song.
Okay.
Next
Took us
song.
half an hour to start the first level.
Next
God damn it.
song.
Right.
Never. I'm a whine.
So is that the only disappointment you've had this year then? Just the Crystal Chronicle?
Except not enough.
Well,
It is enough. Yeah.
I will say that I was a little bit disappointed in 7 Remake, but that's not. It's still a really good game, and it would be an honorable mention to my favourite games. But I will go into that more probably in another video next week or week after. But that was a bit
Okay, fair
disappointment
enough.
because
What
I
did it
was-
ended? Was the rest of the game?
there's little bits that niggled me, but other than that, it's still a
I
fantastic
don't
game.
think it deserves a place on the biggest disappointments of 2020. Every game has its flaws, but I think it's a bit harsh putting it on the list of biggest. I think it's a bit harsh putting it in the same frame as say Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah. Well, so disclaimers: I haven't played Avengers or Cyberpunk or Last of
Yeah.
Us 2 or Ghost of Tsushima. Not that would be on the disappointment list, but I'm just saying I've not played the big AAA games.
Yeah.
But Kate, Dante, which would you say would be the next ones for your disappointments of this year?
So I've got 3 on here. Surprisingly, Last of Us Part 2 is not on my list. Because
other people's problems, not ours.
Yes, yeah, and like, well, initially I did have a few issues now and again with it. I don't think it was a terrible game, and Cyberpunk is on here, but not for the reasons that you think. But what I'll do first is I'll talk about 2 games that I really didn't like this year, and were massive disappointments. Dante has played one of these games. I'll start with the one that he hasn't played, and that is Marvel Avengers.
Played the demo
Yeah.
and cancelled my pre-order.
He played the demo and cancelled his pre-order. Which is fair. I only played it because obviously I wanted to review it for the game because there was a lot of people on my channel that were unsure and on the fence about it. Then did my review and recommended for them not to buy it. So Marvel Avengers is by Crystal Dynamics. Now, Crystal Dynamics have done some fab games, the Tomb Raider reboot being one of them. Yeah. Unfortunately, Marvel Avengers is not amongst some of their greats. It's awful.
Yeah.
As soon as they announced that it was going to be games as a service, warning bells went off in my brain, and I thought, oh great, here we go, it's going to be really grindy. As soon as they started showing the loot and everything, yeah, I had a feeling already at that point, and unfortunately the game did meet those expectations, and it's a game that screams of missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And I feel that Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics assumed that the power of, say, Marvel, and how popular that the movies, that they could just make whatever game they wanted, doesn't matter how shit it is, how hollow and not filled with any heart it is, that they could still, it would still be received really positively because we all love Marvel, and people have been crying out for a really good Avengers game for quite a while. And a lot of people were hyped about this game, before we start to see more on it. It's just screams of missed potential. It could have been so good. It does have a story campaign, which is, I guess, passable. It's a passable story, but it's not particularly memorable, which is shocking given that it's Avengers. I liked Miss Marvel. I thought she was good, and the characters have obviously different abilities and do play very differently. The combat had a lot of potential, but it lacks weight, and the enemy designs were very boring, I mean, I don't know how you make combat boring in a Marvel Avengers game. I just don't know how you do it, but they did it.
Because Thor was quite boring, wasn't it? It didn't feel like the impact of his hammer and explosions, did it?
Yeah, and the sound, I think the problem I had was the sound design. The sound design in the game was awful. I mean, it literally sounded like Thor's hammer was like an aluminium tin foil, like kind of like just hollow, and it just didn't sound right at all. I was expecting something more like akin to, say, God of War, which is really brutal, you know, really weighty, particularly because the guy that worked on Thor's combat also worked on God of War, so I was expecting something a little bit better than we actually got. I think the problem was the way in which the levels were designed. The enemies would just rush you, so you get constantly stun locked. That meant combat felt very frenetic, very crazy, so you couldn't really get into a rhythm with it. You never really felt OP, yeah, or like a hero, which you would expect from a Marvel Avengers game. And so that was really bad. And then the loot was just lackluster. It was crap. And why in the hell the Avengers need loot? Like, the fucking superheroes, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go loot this chest while the world's about to end. It didn't make any sense.
It's like they looked at Destiny and Anthem and went, yeah, we'll do it like that.
I took all the worst bits. Yeah.
It's like, you fools.
I don't know what it is with games as a service. It seems to be every single goddamn developer. I'm starting to get annoyed, but like they think that this games as a service, because it's a quick way to make money because of microtransactions and monetization, and unfortunately there are a lot of people that spend money on it, and it does make them millions, if not billions. Yeah, I mean, it's true, you know, and it's heartbreaking, but they never seem to learn. Like every game review that we do, or reviewers, and they're saying the same critical things, the same criticisms, lackluster loot and really poor story, you know, blah, blah, blah. They always seem to repeat the same mistakes. So first you had Destiny, and then Anthem didn't learn from Destiny, and then Marvel Avengers hasn't learned from them either. It's like they don't look at what's going on around there, like they live in their own little bubble.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I feel. And it was a hollow game. And it was very obvious that it was just kind of a cash grab. And it's heartbreaking because it could have been awesome. You know, the basic foundation of the different Avengers and the abilities that they have and what they could have done with that could have been great. If they had made it a linear main story campaign where you know, the Avengers do get split up and you jump from Avenger to Avenger as you're playing the story, you know, that would have been fine. If they'd had some really great, like, character designs for enemies, really took time to actually, like, develop good levels that tell that story, rather than just having being carbon copies of each other and go from A to B to, oh god, it's just bringing back horrors of Anthem again. And then obviously all the bugs and all the glitches and all the issues with the frame rate drops and just too much going on, and that game just,
and that was why through just a demo, just the beta and all that, it was like, yeah, I know exactly what this is doing, bad. Where it's going to go. I'm not interested. So yeah, sadly not enough other people then quit on it instantly to tell them, don't buy this shit and it won't get made like that again.
It's a dead game. And then the issue is it's supposed to be an online game, but no one's playing it, so you can't do matchmaking. So you have to grind through these levels with really shitty AI companions
glitchy enough
don't play the objectives, getting your way half of the time. It's awful. Don't play it, Edge. Just avoid it. Avoid it like the plague. That's all I would say. But yeah, that probably, Marvel Avengers was probably my biggest disappointment of this year.
Yeah,
probably that was my biggest one.
No one online's asking for a refund on that game, though, are they?
No, true. Yeah. That's true. That's a very good point. It's because Crystal Dynamics have not offered it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these terrible games like Fallout 76, they've not been offered them. They were worse, But anyway, we digress. The second game, obviously, I want to talk about, for me, was a big disappointment and didn't live up to what I was expecting, was Watchdogs Legion. That is another game that had a lot of potential, most definitely. The idea of it was really cool. Like, the setting was really cool. Like, a futuristic dystopian London set post-Brexit with these corporations that are, like, it had such a cool idea. And then the idea that, like, you could recruit anybody in the world and then, like, make it your own kind of thing. Like, having the idea of having an army of granny spies, like, oh my God. Like, the idea of it was so cool. And that's why I got the game when it came out, because I got that over Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have time for both. And Assassin's Creed Valhalla didn't really grab my attention, but Watch Dogs Legion seemed like something different, and it seemed like it was taking the franchise in a new and interesting direction. And Watch Dogs 2 had been really good, and I'd enjoyed it. So I thought, oh yeah, okay, I'll jump in on Legion. I played it, and I just stopped playing it. I just lost interest in it. One of the biggest issues the game has is the open world and the mission structure. The game falls apart very quickly. It becomes very repetitive. It becomes boring for me, because it's like, I've said about open world games, and sometimes the maps can be just full of stuff to do. Yeah. But if it's not interesting stuff to do, and it's very like repetitive stuff to do, you get bored by it. And Ubisoft have this like structure that they always seem to follow for their open world games. And because I've played so many Ubisoft open world games in the past, played obviously Watch Dogs, I've played Division, I've played Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We've played a lot of these open world games, and you start to see these mechanics from other games just literally lifted and just dropped into Watch Dogs Legion. And it screams of lazy development, and it screams of uninspired development. And I don't know whether it's the head bosses at Ubisoft going, right, this is the formula that we must follow, and you can't deviate from said formula. But it got to the point where I just started to see those similarities, and I just lost interest in it completely. And then you actually realize there aren't as many interesting, unique characters in the world, or even with the side missions, as you expect, because you actually start to get duplicates.
Yeah, I got two twin characters in like the first so many hours. I was like, hold on.
Yeah, and the story just didn't grip me.
I'm trying to like it.
You played more than me, Dante.
I am trying to like it more. And the main missions at least do have some plot and interesting twists on them. So it's like, the side quests are just the same old stuff. You played Watch Dogs 1 and 2, you've played this. But there are some little things still keeping me at least a bit interested. But yeah, like you say, getting a bit samey when you thought you could, recruit anyone. You then start to realise, the recruitment process starts to get repeaty. It's like, they've been wronged by either enemy faction 1 or 2. Go either save them or hack them. Right, okay. And then come back and then do this. And then one of the main story ones, I was wanting to get into that because it was starting to get interesting. And it sent me to one end of the map, fast travel, loading screen. Okay, I've done a little thing there. The other end of the map now, right, fine. Fast travel, loading screen. Oh, what? You are sending me back to point A again? No! Stuff like that. It does have disappointment. What's weird is I'm still looking forward to some sort of co-op mode with it, because I think that would be fun to play. But it still might not save it. But I can still see me going back to it at some point to at least complete the storyline, see what it was about. But
I think you've enjoyed it more than me.
It was potential yet again, but also I hadn't been rinsing Assassin's Creed as much. Like I'd played all the originals again, but you went further and played the more newer ones again as well.
Yeah, because I've played so many Ubisoft games, you just start to see it in everything. Get tired of it.
With the Ubisoft's formula kind of thing, but yeah, it could have been a bit more.
Yeah. And then obviously the last elephant in the room we could talk about is Cyberpunk 2077.
Wow.
Yeah.
Technically, just awesome game, however.
You know, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that I have to talk about this game in
this list.
This kind of video.
Yeah.
You know, and you all know, like, BioWare used to be my favourite studio, obviously, because of the Mass Effect trilogy. They then went downhill with, you know, Andromeda. Wasn't terrible, but wasn't as good. Anthem was freaking shocking and awful. I am nervous for the future of BioWare, but then CD Projekt Red kind of replaced them as my, like, next favourite studio. They were the messiah.
You were the chosen one.
You were the chosen one. You were supposed to destroy them, not join them. And that is literally how it feels. And it's so heartbreaking because obviously it's a really good game, but as we all know, it's had massive performance issues, completely not unforgivable, but inexcusable performance issues. It should have never been released on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I think it either should have been delayed to give them more time to work on obviously on those platforms, you know, to make the game at least run. No one ever expected the game to run the same quality or same level as it was, say, going to do on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X or PC, but people certainly expected it to at least run.
Yeah.
Well, true.
And the performance has been so varied and so different for people. Like for some people, it's been completely unplayable, with the frame rates dropping to 10s, 15s, 20s. That's shocking. There've been bugs, obviously, and visual glitches, people dropping through the world, cars appearing out of nowhere. There've been some game-breaking bugs as well, like missions not progressing. Hard crashes of the game. I've had a couple myself. You've had a few, Dante, too.
Quite a lot.
And you've been playing it on PlayStation 4, Dante, so you've really been playing it on sort of...
Challenge mode. Let's go.
Challenge mode. That's one way to put it.
Let's see how I can push this console.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been playing it on PlayStation 5, so I have had issues. I have had performance bugs and things like that.
Yeah.
But generally, when the game is running and playing, it plays at 60 frames per second. So that's great. But the heartbreaking thing is when it does do that, when you do have those hard game crashes and you do have the visual bugs, it pulls you out. You know, the game never lets you get fully immersed. Because something happens and you go, well, that's not right. Well, that shouldn't be there.
You're pointing left.
What the hell is that NPC doing? Yeah, and you just spot all these things and it pulls you out of it. And like there's been a few visual glitches where like some of the menus have popped up over, like overlapping menus or pop-ups and things and over something. And I've had to like reload the game to get rid of it and stuff like that. Luckily, because I'm on the PlayStation 5, that reloading is pretty quick because of the SSD card, so that's been fine. But it does pull you out of that. I know, sorry. But it does pull you out of that immersion, and that's really bad because it is such an incredible world.
It's a game about immersion. You are proper playing a role in that city.
Yeah, and like when you can immerse yourself in it, you get lost in it, and it's fab. It's the bread and butter of what is there is great, is incredible, but unfortunately these performance issues, they are really affecting it. And I think the biggest disappointment, is the game's performance bugs, but I think it's actually CD Projekt Red and what we've learned about them and about the way in which this game was, a lot of things were hidden and a lot of the marketing was quite false and quite misleading. And part of it is because of our own hype. We've kind of put ourselves in the position. We hyped up this game so much, so ridiculously. it's almost like it was never going to live up to expectations, because we'd hyped the game up so high that the higher you hype something up, the more it's going to fall. You know what I mean? And the harder that fall is going to be, because you put it on this kind of pedestal. And people did. They put it on this, like, this is going to be the game of all games. It's going to be the messiah of games. It's going to change gaming and revolutionize the world. And it's going to be a mind-blowing experience. And it's a game at the end of the day. And these are people that make the game, and they're fallible. They're people. Not to excuse what CD Projekt Red have done, but I think that hype is a real problem, and that's something I am going to talk about in a separate video. This hype is becoming an issue. It is becoming an issue of this media and marketing and hype, and the game's constantly never living up to these expectations because of this hype train that people get on and stuff like that. And therefore you have these visceral reactions like The Last of Us Part 2. Same case in point. It's a sequel to a game that's beloved, that people have been waiting for years. People got hyped up on it, expecting it to be this messiah of a game, and it did something that was unpopular. Mm-hmm. And the visceral hate that came out against it was just ridiculous. And we could do a whole separate discussion on this, which I think would be a really interesting discussion to do, for sure.
Didn't follow the headcanon, so boom. Therefore it's trash.
Yeah. But I think the way in which, like, the CD Projekt Red had only shown like the PC footage, and had really shown the game on the highest tech, shiniest PC, and hadn't really shown it playing on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They had virtually hidden that, and had almost shown too much, you know, and too early, so that when the final product doesn't meet what they'd shown early, then people criticize it and say, oh, that's missing, and that's missing, and that's missing. Well, that's game development. That happens, with games, and it doesn't matter how much the developer says that, people ain't gonna listen. You know what I mean? But I think that the most shady part was the way in which they controlled the review process. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
So basically, CD Projekt Red, when they gave review copies to reviewers, whether it's YouTubers, you know, big review companies like IGN, GameSpot, and so on, they only gave PC copies of the game. They refused to give any console versions, like keys for the game.
Okay.
So they could only review the PC version, which obviously was the smoothest version. They then would not allow them to use their own footage that they had captured and recorded during the review process. They could only use stock footage that had been approved by CD Projekt Red. So when the reviews came out, when the reviews came out, and these review companies were talking about it, and they were scoring the game 9 out of 10 and saying it was an incredible game, well, it was for them because they played it on the PC. So then when the game came out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and you know, was virtually unplayable, like it was to cover that up, so that, because obviously if these reviewers have come out and saying don't buy it on PlayStation 4, it's not ready, everybody would have cancelled their pre-orders and would have waited, or would have got it on PC or a different format. And CD Projekt Red, I mean, they sold 11 million copies on the first day just from pre-orders. They made back their development costs in one day because of all these pre-orders, and that's because of all the hype that was involved in it. Now obviously there's a lot of people trying to get refunds on the PlayStation 4 now, and that's the whole thing. This is why I'm going to do a separate video on it, because it's very complicated, like what actually happened behind it. But the major problems behind it is because of the way in which the game was marketed, the lack of transparency on CD Projekt Red's part, with like Marcin Lewinsky, I think it was the CEO. I think it was back in January. He said the game was playable, complete. And then he said the game ran surprisingly well on last gen consoles. I'm like, if that's your surprisingly well, what the hell kind of state was the game in before?
Couldn't even load.
Exactly. So like there was just, and that's what he was telling his investors and things like that, obviously, because money. So I think a lot of it was mismanaged. And that's the really heartbreaking thing of, you always thought CD Projekt Red have always touted itself to be this company that puts gamers first and has the respect for gamers and wants to give them value for money, and always said that they were above such things as microtransactions and were better than companies like Bethesda and EA that rushed out games, and the game would be released when it was ready, and that hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that just shows you that there's still a corporation at heart that are only interested in money.
Hey.
And it's had a massive impact on their reputation, and it's going to take them a long time if they're ever going to get that back again, because they've lost a lot of that goodwill and reputation that they had previously. And I think so that's my biggest disappointment, is the way in which it launched. And I wouldn't have had an issue if they've said, what they should have made the decision on is, if you can't make it run on last gen hardware, on PS4 and Xbox One, because the game is ambitious, it's a really ambitious game. If you could not make that work on last gen, then make the call. Just say, do you know what, guys? For us to bring our vision to you the way that we want to, the way that we imagine it, because it's our game, this game will only be available on PC and next gen only.
Yeah. It's like...
And just make that call. Or you go, right, the PC version is ready. We're going to release the PC version in November, so those people that have a good PC can play it on that. And we're going to work on the console version, and that will come out at some point next year.
Because that's what the extra delay was on the end, from November to December.
The 1 month delay.
They were like, oh, we've realised really bad on the old gen consoles. We should try and fix those, but it still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Should have just...
Well, Jason Schreier revealed Jason Schreier does a lot of insider insights because he has connections everywhere, apparently. He did an article yesterday. There are divisions going on in CD Projekt Red at the moment. There was a massive meeting between the development team and the management team, and the developers are not happy with the way in which the game was marketed.
I can see...
And the way in which the game has been released.
I can see why you've got to make an entirely separate video on all this.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So if you're not aware, Edge, check out my video because it'll be really interesting for you.
I definitely will at some point.
Yeah. But yeah, that's probably, one of the biggest disappointments of this year. And then that's it. I think that's enough.
But 2020 in general, yeah.
Yeah, 2020, yeah. Great way to finish 2020.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still enjoying the game, though, when it works. But yeah, it's definitely that. But is there anything else that you guys wanted to mention?
I can't think of anything because I can't. Yeah. It's hard for me because I've not played a lot of them, and it's a comment I wanted to think about a little bit, which was obviously with AAA games, it's becoming more and more common now that we kind of don't care. Like pre-ordering, why do we still pre-order? And that's all stuff that I want to talk about maybe later on in other videos.
I think that'd be good for a separate video. I think that'd be interesting for a separate video. If you guys have any ideas of things that you'd like us to discuss, then please let us know in the comments. What topics you're interested in, what you'd like us to discuss, any tangents off of this, and we'd be more than happy to discuss those and get those up for you and share our thoughts on them, because there's a lot where this could go.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah,
I've really enjoyed doing these sort of video little segments. I mean, also, if anyone's watching right now, this is the third video that we're recording between Twitch and YouTube. It's just been our thoughts of what we've really enjoyed in the last 12 months, the top games that we've had for this year, top disappointments, top games of our whole generation of PS4 and Xbox One and 360 and so forth. I can't keep track of the Xbox at the moment. And obviously, I hope you've enjoyed listening to what we've had there. There's a couple more videos I want to kind of look into. Next year, the big games I'm looking forward to for next year, because with every game that comes out, there's always new ones to look forward to. I mean, there's a couple of other topics I want to have a chat with before making the videos. As you're aware, I still do streaming on here, so I will be next year, or at the very least, we'll be completing Resi 7, because I've done like a journey of going through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now going through 7, ready for 8 for the PS5. Jesus Christ. And obviously, I'm still playing Dragon Quest, which has been really good fun. And it's been kind of relaxing playing that little RPG every once in a while, trying to level up a bit before doing more story content. So I will continue doing those. But if there's anything you want to see me do, or if there's anybody else that... well, there was one thing, actually. In one of my videos I did a few days ago, my goal was to hit 15 subscribers before the end of 2021.
Yeah, I remember that.
I've now hit.
You got that one.
Apparently,
one.
yesterday I hit 15.
Fab.
So now we're going to aim for 16.
Nice one.
We'll aim for 16
nice
now
one.
in 2021.
Awesome. Well, I am. I've got a goal too, and I think I'm 30 odd away from getting 13k.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to do a giveaway. Yeah, I'm 37 subs away from getting 13. Come on, guys, make it happen before Christmas.
Guys,
and then I'm going to do a.
You can all join me and get 13,000 before N7K. I think that'll be April Fool's. If by April 1st, if she's not done it, we can get me to 13,000. This is an April Fool's. No, don't do that. I would feel really bad.
Please don't. I've spent 7 years building this community. But yeah, I'm obviously going to be doing my top 10 games of 2020 video. I'm starting to compile my ideas at the moment. It's going to be a tricky one this year, I think, to actually order them. You know, in terms of the 10, there may be some surprises in there that you guys don't see coming as well. It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. And then obviously, in January, I always do my what I'm looking forward to coming up and things like that. And then I'm even planning to potentially do a little bit of live streaming over the Christmas period as well, of maybe any games I get for Christmas or anything like that. Then obviously I'm still working hard on my Cyberpunk 2077 Let's Play at the moment, when I get to play it, when I can play it. And then obviously I'm planning to do a full review for that game, but you guys are going to have to be patient with me because obviously it's a massive game. I am planning to play everything through, cover every area I can do, so that I can bring out a really nice, detailed, well-written review for you guys for you to make your own informed decision on it. That's probably going to most likely be coming in the first week or two in January, hopefully.
Yeah.
Depending, obviously, how quick it is for me to finish the game. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing these videos as well. I definitely want to make this more regular thing, which will be good. Let us know if you've enjoyed them as well.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for N7Kate and N7 Dante for joining me on these videos. This is something I do want to do regularly while doing the streaming. And obviously I'll give you more of an update on my plans in the new year of what we're doing for content for this channel later on, and hopefully give a bit of facelift as well, because I know I need to put a picture on the YouTube channel. And I know this Twitter, whatever exists. Twitter. Is
it the French version?
Is that what
Twitter?
It is? Twitter.
Twitter. Something.
I don't know if I want Twitter because
you need a Twitter account so that I can start plugging you and linking you into things, on my Twitter.
Well, maybe Dante can help me make one over Christmas at some point.
Maybe.
I'm going to be going into the 21st century. I had one for years. No one even used it. Like the one someone made it for me years ago, and I had 500 Twitter followers, and I never posted a damn thing, and it's gone. I'm not resurrecting it. I didn't want it in the first place. But if I have to make Twitter, I mean, you hear this thing about people being all toxic on Twitter. I'm like, I don't really want to do Twitter.
Yeah, you just got to ignore those people. It's a good place to share what you're doing and when you're uploading things.
Well, true. It's fair dues.
It just depends on the community that you get. That's social media for you.
It is.
But yeah, all right then. That's cool. So have a great weekend, guys, and we'll catch you next time, I guess.
Catch you next time. And if you enjoy what you've seen, please leave a comment and subscribe. Come on, 30,000 before N7K. I'm joking.
No, never gonna happen. Please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Have a lovely Christmas, guys. As always, take care and happy gaming.
Bye,
guys.